Your manager is probably bad at their job. I don't say that to be cruel. I say it because the data overwhelmingly supports it. 82% of employees surveyed by Gallup said their boss lacks adequate leadership skills. 57% of workers have quit a job specifically because of their manager, not because of the company, not because of the work, because of the person directly above them. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. Your manager probably didn't start out incompetent. They were good at something once. They were so good, in fact, that someone decided to promote them. And that promotion was the beginning of the end. In 1969, a Canadian educator named Lawrence J. Peter wrote a book that was supposed to be satire. It was called The Peter Principle, and it proposed something that sounded absurd at the time. In any hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to their level of incompetence. You start a job, you're good at it, you get promoted, you figure out the new role. You get good at that too. Another promotion. This cycle continues until eventually you land in a role you simply cannot handle. The skills don't transfer, the pressure is too high, and at that point, the promotions stop. Not because you've hit a ceiling, because you've stopped performing. Here's where it gets dark. Once you reach that level of struggle, you don't usually get fired. You just hang there. You become what Peter called a final placement, stressed, underperforming, and blocking anyone below from moving up. You're not succeeding. You're not failing badly enough to be removed. You're just existing in a role that drains you. For 50 years, people treated this as a joke. Then researchers tested it, and what they found should change how you think about every promotion you're ever offered. Hit subscribe to Naomi Capital before we go deeper. Let's go. A landmark study in the Quarterly Journal of Economics analyzed over 200 firms, tracking nearly 39,000 sales workers to see what happened when top performers got promoted to management. The researchers found exactly what you'd expect about who gets promoted. The single strongest predictor was sales volume. High performers rose, low performers stayed. The system was working as designed. But then they looked at what happened to the teams those new managers led. The data was devastating. The better a person was at selling, the worse they were at managing. There was actually a negative correlation. Superstar salespeople, when promoted, led teams that performed worse than teams led by average salespeople. Not slightly worse. Measurably, significantly worse. Why? Selling is a lone wolf activity. It rewards aggression, individual focus, self-reliance, even selfishness. But management requires the complete opposite: collaboration, patience, coaching, empathy, the ability to celebrate someone else's success more than your own. The skills that make you dominant in one role actively undermine you in the other. By promoting top sellers, these companies were doing two things simultaneously: removing their highest revenue generators from the field and putting those same people in positions where they damaged everyone around them. A double destruction of value. The study even found what actually predicted good management: the collaborative sellers who helped teammates, who showed patience. These people rarely got promoted because their individual numbers weren't flashy. The system was blind to the skills that actually mattered. This pattern exists everywhere. The brilliant engineer promoted to engineering manager. On paper, it makes sense. They're a technical wizard. But the job of engineering manager isn't writing code. It's managing people, resolving conflicts, writing performance reviews, delivering difficult feedback. A brilliant engineer might have zero aptitude for any of that. Hit like if your manager is living proof of the Peter Principle right now. 60% of new managers fail within the first 24 months. 70% say they weren't even expecting the promotion. 18% actively regret taking it. 41% have serious doubts. So we have a system that promotes based on skills that don't transfer into jobs nobody asked for, where the majority fail. This isn't a failure of individuals. This is a structural flaw. There's another layer, there's another layer, regression to the mean. To get promoted, you need a spectacular year, but performance combines skill and luck. To have a truly exceptional year, you probably had both: a hot market, a lucky client, a competitor that went bankrupt. When you get promoted based on that peak, your performance predictably drifts back to your actual average. The lucky streak ends, but now you're in a harder job with higher expectations, and the natural statistical correction looks like incompetence to everyone watching. Most people picture their career as a ladder, only one direction, up. Delete that image. It's dangerous. Instead, picture a graph. Vertical axis, competence, satisfaction, value created. Horizontal axis, job level. For most people, that line doesn't go up forever. At entry level, you rise quickly. At senior individual contributor, you hit your peak, your zone of genius. You feel confident. You go home satisfied. Then comes the management transition. The line dips. Then director level, pure politics. Your competence line crashes. The tragedy is that we celebrate entering this danger zone. We throw parties, we update LinkedIn, we call it success. What we're actually celebrating is the moment someone becomes bad at their job. The extra 20% salary comes with 50% more stress, more meetings, less of the work you love, and a meaningful probability of failure. That's negative expected value. A rational investor would never take that trade. And here's what surprises people. In tech, senior individual contributors often earn more than their managers. Staff engineers at major companies routinely earn $400,000 or more, 15 to 25% more than engineering managers at the same level. Less admin overhead, more high-impact work, and during layoffs, middle managers get cut while the people who build the product stay. So you've run the numbers. You see the promotion for what it is. How do you decline without destroying your career? You have to reframe it. Separate the pay from the role. Most people only want the promotion because they want the raise. Not the meetings, not the politics, not the responsibility for other people's outcomes. Push for a senior individual contributor path. The script goes like this: I'm genuinely honored, but I've looked carefully at where I drive the most value for this company. It's in doing the work itself, not managing people who do it. Can we explore a path where I take on more complex projects, mentor junior team members, and get compensation that reflects that value while staying in this core role? You're framing your refusal as a commitment to excellence. You're protecting the company from gaining a bad manager. And if they say no, if the only path forward is management, that tells you everything you need to know about the organization. Declining a promotion can be a power move. It signals confidence. The people who desperately grab every promotion often end up stressed, struggling, and expendable. The person who stays in their zone of genius, who everyone relies on because nobody else can do what they do, that person is bulletproof. When you operate at your level of competence, you experience flow regularly. You sleep better, your relationships improve, you stop bringing stress home every night. Excellence gets noticed. Struggle gets tolerated until it can't be ignored anymore. Gallup found that low engagement costs the global economy $8.8 trillion annually, 9% of global GDP, lost to people managing roles they never should have accepted. The smartest person in the room isn't always the CEO. Sometimes it's the person who climbed to exactly the height where they were happiest and most effective and had the discipline to stop. They maximize their utility, not their title. Knowing the difference is the competitive advantage nobody talks about. The next time someone offers you a promotion, don't just feel flattered. Ask yourself, does this role match my actual skills? Will I enjoy the day to day? Am I being promoted because I'd be good at what I do next? Or just rewarded for what I do now? Those are two very different things. And if the honest answer is that you'd be trading mastery for mediocrity just to get a better title, maybe the smartest thing you can do is say thank you, but no, because staying where you're excellent isn't settling, it's strategy. If this changed how you think about your career, hit subscribe to Naomi Capital and turn on notifications. One breakdown every week on money, careers, and the psychology of building real wealth. Drop a comment. Have you ever been offered a promotion you should have said no to? I read every single comment. See you in the next one.